Hey y'all, thanks for joining us for another segment of the UnCommon Cru. All right, we're pretty excited. I think you're going to like what we got going on today. Make sure y'all first, before y'all do anything, make sure y'all like and subscribe, and most importantly, share some of the good content that y'all like on all our channels. If you got your favorite one, promote it and let us know. Hit the comment section. All right. So let me, of course, before I introduce the grand finale, some of our usual suspects. We got Miss Michaela.
What's that?
Oh, yeah. Then we got the infamous, oh, yeah, I know y'all like when he show up, Mr. J Ice himself.
What's good? What's good?
And then we got the one and only, the Miss Haley Johnson, who is not only a referee, a fitness trainer, a business owner. She is a Division II, talk to him, Division II basketball referee, and she also refs high school varsity boys. And most importantly, and check this out, if y'all feeling frisky, she also has done private security for one of the presidents. Miss Haley Johnson.
Hey.
Thanks,
Welcome,
guys, for
welcome.
having me. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. I know you're feeling good. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And that intro, thanks.
Well, thank you for coming. This is so exciting, especially because you do something so unique that not a lot of people probably hear about. So I want to start with asking you what initially drew you to refereeing men's sports.
Ooh.
You know, I wish that this was a cooler answer, but if I'm being honest, I was 12 years old and I had a boyfriend at the time whose dad was like the assigner, and someone just didn't show up one day, and his dad told me, Haley, you're going to go do it. So he handed me a shirt and he was like, foul, double dribble, and I think that's all he like told me, set me off. So literally I remember every single game, like the parents screaming at me and I'd be running off the court crying. So it was honestly back then I did it because they were giving me $15 a game cash and I was 12 years old. So I was like, cool, this is great. And I could buy so many things when I was 12 years old with that. So it wasn't really like a passion until I got older, and then I started like actually enjoying it and like loving it. And then it was actually funny because my little brother always said he wanted to be an NBA referee, and I was like, you're crazy. You can't make no money doing that. And then found out, definitely found out that can make more than enough money like reffing for 5 months out of the year. So it's not why I do it though. I mean, I used to do it for like, you know, like I said, making the money and stuff with it. But now it's been an interesting transition because like when I was saved and gave my life to Christ, it's been like I have tattoos, and we used to not be able to have tattoos. You had to cover them up and stuff. So now like every single game, like that's the first thing like the players will talk to me about, like coaches. So it's like my way of being able to like talk about Jesus to the people on the court in the field. So
Wow.
it's, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How long have you been refereeing?
14 years.
14
Over
years?
half my life now. Yeah.
How did you handle like that first disappointment from like all these strangers? You're 12 years old, but like you said you were crying. So like how did you deal with going back again? Like as a girl, like I could not imagine like being responsible for a game, but like having to know all the rules, all the plays, and if I just really don't know, what kept you going back?
Man, that's a great question because I seriously would run. One time I ran to a basement. I like found this basement in the gym. I was like, and then my boss came and found me down there like in a ball crying. Like there was honestly it was probably my mentors. Like I had a lot of great mentors that helped like build me up and bring me up, and if it wasn't for them, there's no way I would have came back the next weekend. But there's always people like encouraging me and like telling me, you know, just come back, show up, you know, like it's just about showing up and giving another shot. You know, I'm very stubborn and I will not give up on things. So I think it's probably like the stubbornness in me a little bit. I was not about to let someone tell me like I failed at something. So here we are 14 years later, but it's gotten a lot easier. And I would say like just I think God's blessed me with grace, and I'm able to like give and extend grace to others. So when I hear someone getting upset, I kind of like understand, you know, like where they're coming from and just like the passion behind like why they're upset. So I try to kind of put myself on the back burner and just like let them express it a little bit and just put myself kind of last in that position. But it was definitely, I would say like my mentors always encouraging me, and having like my friends and family have always been so supportive of me. So
That's
That's rough because I tried to do the reffing thing because I had a few friends do it and I lasted like
did?
one half. Yeah. It was like ninth grade AAU and I lasted one half. They knew once they realized you don't know what you're doing, it's bad for you. It's a
foul, Ref. It's a foul.
and I'm not the one of the wrestlers that's gonna let it go. I'm like, hey, sit down in the crowd. I don't need none of that. Your kid's trash anyways.
But that takes a lot of humility for you to take all that criticism at once, but use that to strengthen you and to like build your craft. So that's really inspiring too. How would you say that you earned respect from players, coaches, as you've gone through this experience?
I'm sorry. I just keep thinking about how me and Jay met.
Yeah,
This must be an interesting story.
She's wearing the stripes.
Story time.
You want to go ahead?
Well, let's hear it now.
Yeah, who wants to tell the truth?
You gotta tell us.
No, so like we were super right. And for the most part, because I hoop in these man leagues, where I still be getting buckets, and they can't hold me, they can't really guard me, so they try to foul. They got to foul every time.
Okay.
So they know because I'm bigger than everybody like that. They'll get away with it. So sometimes when I don't get the call, like I'll get frustrated. And this game, she was reffing.
Okay.
So she wasn't giving me no call. So I was just like I politely said, "Hey, ref, what's up? Like give me a call."
Politely.
And then here come the whistle with the T.
Oh.
Yeah.
I said, "Whoa."
I know, and look at us here now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look
that's
at
wild.
God. Look at God.
So that's why I was like, I was like, women, at first I was like, women don't need to be reffing men's like sports because y'all don't be like, I feel like y'all get sensitive.
Affirmative all the time.
Yeah, it's like, yo, but at the same time, that's all refs. I feel like I'll be talking to them a little bit and they be like, woo.
Is that true, Haley? Is that how the story went down?
But actually, I do want to. No. This is helping him out. It's not. I am not. No. So what I actually liked about Jay was that he, after it happened, literally right after the game, he came up to me and apologized, and he literally was like, it was so nice. No one ever does that. It was actually very nice of him, and I was like, wow, like it showed a lot about you, if I'm being honest, because I was like, he can, take accountability. Like it's hard as like a ref too, because like I don't want to do that. That's my last.
She ain't hesitate. Talk about she ain't want to.
Well, okay, that league's a little different though, because if you don't, what was your question about like?
Have you earned respect?
Okay, so that was kind of like, that was why I was going there a little bit, but
you could have just talked to me.
She said, I gotta set example on the yard right now.
The more that you allow people to just like kind of push the limits and the boundaries, especially like as a female, I think the men can kind of be a little bit more lax on it but it's like as a female, you're already like, if you walk into a gym or like into any sport, it's like they already think of you as like you don't have enough knowledge, you're not meant to be there, you shouldn't be there, like I've had that said to me so many times. So it's just like it's an authority thing, like you have to show that you know what you're doing. You're not just gonna like accept disrespect and stuff like that. But I remember one time, this was probably like I think 18. I was like reffing high school, like varsity already. And I walked on the court, and it was in Minnesota, so we only had 2 refs for varsity games instead of 3. But the guy was like late, and it was me, like I was the only one there, so I was like shaking the hands of the coaches, and the coach said something to me, and he was like, how old are you? Are you even like old enough to be doing this? Like basically telling me like I shouldn't be there and like I wasn't, qualified to be there. And I was like, okay, because I had already been doing it for a while at this point. Like I knew the game well, and this old guy comes on, like he was probably 65. And he came onto the court, like showed up late, and he was like, just so you know, like this is like my first varsity game, like I'm gonna need you to like help me out and stuff. So in my head, it's like, okay, I got you. But like to the coaches, it's like an old 65-year-old white dude. He looks like he probably knows what he's doing.
Right.
He's been doing this for years, and
But little did they know, they didn't. So like midway through the game, like the coaches started to see that and like realize that, and they ended up obviously coming to me for every question that they had and stuff. So like I think my knowledge and just like me practicing and reading the rules and stuff like that has been what's like gained like the respect, and I just I don't like allow them to be able to say like anything where it's like they can question me, because like I know what the rule is, and like I'll tell them exactly like what it is, and you have to have wisdom, Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to that. So, but a lot of experiences from that, and just, I mean, being able to stand firm and like just be strong, like with your understanding and your knowledge, honestly, be confident.
That speaks to your mental toughness, right? So it takes a lot to that. So in those times that you feel like you've broken down, Do you just more so lean on your mentors? Do you lean on your prayer life? Do you know, are you going to your community? Like, how are you kind of releasing those things or sharing those stories to keep going in those, you know, mental tough battles that you may be facing?
Are we talking the before Christ year?
No, because like in my defense, I have like, because she's repped a few of my games, and like I still, she hasn't like texted me. So sometimes she'll just let it go. Like she don't always, you know. So there has to be
Since
something.
the first time?
Yeah, because I was like, oh, if you would take me on that first one, I know I'm gonna get another one. But you haven't, so I was like, so there is some type of like level of like you just kind of let certain things slide.
Yeah.
But how did you like he asked, like how did you get there? I guess.
To give someone a tech?
Yeah, no, just as far as like when someone's like, my bad, I just messed your whole question up.
He was on mental toughness, but
yeah,
you
it's basically mental toughness. Like when someone's like in the moment, like
yelling
at you, how have you grown in that?
Yeah, like how you processing that?
Well, the only times like I feel like I really, because if people are swearing like directly like at you, it kind of comes down to like the ruling and what they like tell us to do and like what the rule is to do with that stuff. Obviously players, like any swearing, like especially college, like we're supposed to, it's automatic tech. Like doesn't even matter if they're swearing about a play, like any cuss words at all, like it's automatic tech. So that's like a big one. Like I just won't like really allow that. Your guys' league's a little bit different, so I'm not gonna really go to that league too much. But normal basketball and stuff like that is just swearing I won't tolerate. Any, like I actually gave a tech out, say Sunday, yesterday in my college game because the coach, she made a comment that was just like very like personal, like to me. And it wasn't like, I had her last weekend and she was actually really cool, really nice. We were sitting there laughing, joking. Yeah. But she said it was like a personal thing, like to me. And the whole gym was like silent and stuff. And I don't remember the last time I gave like a coach a text. So it's very rare. But when the gym's like silent like that and stuff, and it's like they're doing it to get everyone like riled up, because like the coach or the players and the fans will feed off what the coaches do and how they act. So if I don't handle how the coaches are acting, you know, then it's just gonna make it worse for everyone. So I just try to keep the peace, you know.
Yeah, and that's good. So I'm asking even more so like when you go home, like how are you processing that? And, you know, when you're sitting there and you're like what's that look like?
Do you have to talk it out, or do you have to process it on your own, or?
My friends, my therapist said that I'm what's it called?
You gotta have a therapist. You a ref.
That's it. There we go. Now we get to it.
Like I gotta process it out loud. Yeah, what's that word? Like
I don't know.
A verbal processor or something. Like I can't do it in my head. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta talk.
Yeah.
So whatever that word is. But I don't know. That's why I swear like God's given me like grace. Like because like when I leave, like I'm always just thankful now and just like happy that I was like able to ref. For real, your guys' league is different. I'm not talking about your league. Your league, sometimes I leave stressed out and I have to call like my mom.
They be really trying to live in a glory live.
Mom.
Hey.
No. Well, she's been there, you know, she's seen like the last 14 years of it and stuff. So she'll like just like kind of talk me through it and stuff. And it's just like encouragement, you know. I think my friends like understand. I mean, some of my friends understand. They're not big into sports. So it's like I don't really talk to my friends a whole lot, but I will call my mom. I'll call like my best friend from like back home in Minnesota, and they try to give me some encouragement. But you can't really do it. Like I don't expect people to understand. So I really just try to give people grace and just understand. Like I said earlier, that just they're passionate about the game. It's like their kids or their players or their team or whatever that they're fighting for and stuff. So I try to just not take it personal and honestly I like let it go. Like I feel like I leave it on the field or the court when I leave most of the time, unless it's that bad. But
what would you say has been your most challenging moment of your career, and how did you handle it?
With the fans and the coaches and stuff, or just in general?
Was it
how she talks? She make it seem like ref in my game was the most challenging.
Yeah, she's really making it sound like your league is the most challenging.
We're trying to help you get past it.
Your guys' league is the most challenging.
Oh my goodness!
I tell you what, way more challenging.
What are you getting at it?
Oh man, I would say like the hardest. The worst, I mean, not worst, because it's like what has made me like push harder. But like my old boss back in Minnesota told me I would never be good enough to like ref in the NBA. I would never be good enough to ref college and stuff like that. So I was on the phone with him for like 2 hours, and I like hung up the phone, decided I was moving to Texas, and like I cried for hours. But I was like, okay, I like let that fuel me, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it because he just told me I couldn't. But I remember like in that conversation, like I said, I'm stubborn. So like when he told me that, I knew that like game over. Like I'm gonna do it.
Exactly.
But it was hard to hear that though, you know. So it's just that was probably, I would say, like the hardest part of all of it, because like when people, I mean, not that I need him to believe in me and stuff, but someone like telling you that, and just like your words have so much power. So it's like I'm such an encourager and like love to affirm people, and so when he didn't do that, yeah, it was just like, just tell me how I can be better, like tell me what I can do better. But to say that and like speak that over me, I was like, we're not having that.
Went too far.
Yeah, but I would say that was probably the hardest moment.
Do you ref mostly like men, or do you do women's as well, or you just do strictly
women's
men's?
college, and then just obviously men's football, and then both for varsity, like high school basketball.
Is there like a pay difference between like the
high school and college?
Well, I know probably high school, college. I'm talking about like women's versus women's basketball, men's ball.
No, basketball definitely pays more than football, but kind of.
But it's like reffing a women's game more, like less. You get paid less than
for college. It would be different, yeah. But high school is the same, like across the board. But yeah, once you get into like college, if I was reffing men's college, it would be more than what women's college is. But they're actually like, since that whole like NCAA thing, like was it 2 years ago when the women's what didn't you guys hear about that? Like their facility for their training facility, like the women's like NCAA training facilities were like a little tiny room, and the men had like a whole gym.
Didn't know that. I
You know
thought they just used the same thing,
Yeah,
just
I
on
did
different
too.
times.
No, it was like, and women weren't like paid and stuff like that, but like the men were, and like so there's like a whole difference in that, like in that like Paige Buchers, I don't know if you know her. She's
this
like
was like after the NIL Che has all like these deals to pay the athletes and stuff.
Yeah, that was like, it was like 3 years ago. I think it all changed. So like now they started like paying women and all that's like the whole NCAA changed all of that to like make it more fair, and that's why there's so many like people attending like the women's games now, like the Division I games and stuff like that, because it's just so unfair. But yeah, it's gotten a lot better with that, but I think that there's just still more money in the men's game, and that's why like the difference in pay with that. But yeah.
So I have a question then. They're the same, but the one's a little lighter, one's a little heavier.
What should we start with?
The light one, where are you from? Because you said move to Texas, so somebody's like, oh, where's she from? Where's she from? Okay. That one. And then two, how would you explain the environment? Because you said you have mentors, right? And you said you had a previous mentor or coach telling you never be anything, you won't be able to do it, right? So how has that been navigating as a woman, right? I know it probably gets kind of awkward. You know, I don't want to use buzzword to trigger people, but it probably gets very uncomfortable, right, in those spaces. So how have you navigated effectively without compromising yourself in those spaces when you're seeking out mentors and help? Because I think a lot of women oftentimes try to seek a mentor, but they always want something to exchange. Like, hey, let's talk about over dinner. And you're like, why don't we just go to coffee?
Why don't you come over and let's talk?
Like let's just have a normal conversation that gets kind of I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So, right? Where you from? Let's start light. And then kind of explain how you navigated to that, even if you've learned some lessons, right? I think that'd be helpful for people who maybe want to follow down similar footsteps.
That was a real good question. It's actually funny you asked that, because I'm like literally navigating that as we speak. I'm from Minnesota though, like way up north by Canada. I don't know if my accent. I say bag. Do you know what bag is?
Yeah.
You do?
I'm from Michigan.
Oh, so you understand.
Yeah.
See, most of these people are like, what are you begging
like
for? I'm like, I'm not begging. I need like a to-go bag, like I need a bag.
Do you say egg, like egg or something?
Oh, like a bag.
Oh, bag.
I was like,
I was like, are you saying bag?
I was like, bag. Oh, I was like a bagel.
Yeah.
They never had Tim Hortons. Don't feel bad.
Like a bagel or something.
See, most people are like, they literally don't know what the word I am saying. I'm
You
like,
guys should watch Fargo. It's a great
yes.
movie. Yeah.
See, where in Michigan?
Flint.
I figured, because you got a Lions sweatshirt on. I was a little bit upset when I walked in, but
That's okay.
Everybody was upset.
Y'all get a second chance. If I can
Just
get a
go.
second chance, it won't mean much.
you guys
but
are actually pretty decent this year, so.
Yeah, finally.
you guys are hater. We beat everybody at this table, by the way. Everybody. Okay. Everybody.
Let's move on.
We're coming back.
Let's move on.
All right. My fault. I'm sorry.
No, yes, I'm from Minnesota. I moved down here like 4 years ago almost now. So, but the other question, man, that is so hard because when I was younger, I was so naive and just thinking that people wanted to like help me and they just like cared about, had like my best interests at heart, you know what I'm saying? And as I got older, I realized that was not the case at all. And like it's actually been funny because like the last few months, I literally had, I don't even know if I should tell this story, but I'm just going to tell it anyways. I had this guy, like, I was doing, like, flag football stuff. I did that some weekends, but flag football. And this guy was, like, trying to give me all this advice. And, like, I think he was either an ex-NFL player or ex-NFL ref, one of the two. But so he came off to, like, know all this, like, have all this knowledge and stuff. And then he was, like, he was being so chill. He was, like, probably 55 or 60, okay? Being so normal and like respectful and stuff like that. And he was like, take my number, if you need anything, whatever. Ends up calling me like afterwards. And it was like a 55-minute long conversation of like, if you ever get like lonely, you can just call me and like we can just like cuddle. And I was like, and I had,
gracious.
It was just like, okay. And I was like so uncomfortable. I was like, I called my mom afterwards, so upset. And that's why it's funny because you asked that, because I was literally like just thinking about that because it made me so upset, like, because that's happened like quite a few times, and it's hard because I feel like if I were them, I would just genuinely like care about helping someone, and that's just me, but I need to realize that that's not everyone. So I honestly haven't really, so Sarah Thomas is like one of my mentors, the NFL ref, the blonde lady. But I try to stick more to like women now instead of like men at all, because it's just like there's been very few like with pure intentions and like good intentions, if I'm being honest now. So my old ones, like this guy was like 85. He was like my first like basketball mentor. He was great, but it has been hard like navigating that and like having the discernment to know whether or not like someone is trying to help you in your career or trying to get closer to you for other reasons, So I pray a lot for discernment, if I'm being honest. And just, I honestly would say I've stayed away quite a bit, like the last few years, from like any sort of mentorship, like in men, unless they're like my actual bosses that like assign me my games. Like I'll go to them because they have a lot to lose, so they can't act like that.
Absolutely.
So
do you feel like that gave you like at the beginning, like before you were like aware of like them trying that, do you feel like that got you more opportunities, or not? It's not really, that wasn't really
those people weren't in positions to give me opportunities. Like the people that try to help me weren't in like any position to be able to help. The people that can give you more opportunities aren't even like, they don't have the time to be like trying to help you like that. Like you can call them if you have a question and stuff, but they're like so busy with like, they are normally like husbands and they got kids. They have like a good reputation. You have to have a background check. You got to do all that stuff, So they have a lot on the line. Whereas like the other people that would try to help me, like, it means nothing to them, So it's like I had a football banquet last week, and I had the president of the football, like he's basically my biggest football boss. He came up to me because he said like the coaches from a prosper team, I don't know if I should say that, like reported this ref that he was like harassing me like on the field, and like he was like, do you want to go through and like report this, and do you want to like do something about it, basically? And I was like, I know what that encompasses, and I've had to do it before, and it's a lot, and it's like it's basically like a court process. So it happens a lot though.
Yeah. It's interesting because you can see, like, I feel like a lot of these like women in the workforce, like they can take those opportunities, and as far as like people trying to just like use them, like I'm sure like you hear plenty of stories of people just using the opportunity to climb the ladder.
Yeah.
So it's rare that someone just wants to do it the right way.
Yeah, which is true. Which, like Jay's saying, take those opportunities, right? And I'm sure it's probably something you would want to tell other young women, or maybe even older than you, that's new to it, right? Some things that you've learned and some things that you could say, hey, you should try or stay away from. Like, what would be some of those things that you would probably share with somebody?
I feel like if someone's going way out of their way to help you, you definitely got to ask yourself if it is like what their motive is behind it, and just like, are they talking about just whatever, like whether it's reffing or whatever else, like it could possibly be, like you could take that on any topic, you know, like are they actually keeping it about what it should be about? Are they trying to get to know you? Are they trying to like ask you other questions that aren't even like relevant to what you're trying to, like what your goal is, you know? Because I mean, you can clearly tell when that guy called me, for instance, like the conversation was nothing about like me getting better in basketball or in football, I mean. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just, if it's kept in that like one, you know, like keep it in the right direction and stuff, and like we're actually trying to like move towards like, you know, bettering the person and stuff like that, like for sure, like listen, take the advice and stuff. But I do now, like I'll normally like ask someone that's like above me that I trust, like, do you know anything about this person? Like, can I trust them? You know, like, and I've been told my whole career, most people will seem like they're for you, but they're not. So like be very like wary and careful, like when it comes to, because even people trying to, like when people ask, like they know that I do college, but they'll try to like get more information and try to like, you know, dig, but it's not for like a good reason. So I keep things a lot more private now, and just, you know, you have to, you got to protect yourself, you know, with that type of stuff. So did I answer the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. How would you say the landscape has changed for women officiating? You mentioned that the pay is better. You mentioned that you have more mentorship. Would you say that they hire more women, or would you say that it's basically like a referral basis, or are there other aspects that we're not even thinking about that have changed in this arena of officiating that we may not know?
Oh my gosh, it has changed so much. Like when I started, I was always the only female, like the only one. So it was just me and a bunch of guys all the time for like, that's why I was so used to having guy friends all the time. I was never around women. And so, I mean, up until honestly probably like 5 years ago, I think that there's been like a push, kind of like, it was kind of towards your question a little bit when you're kind of talking about taking like the opportunity and stuff like that. Like if a boss or something could like put you in a position. But I've always told people, like I've been interviewed before, and like I've always told the people that do hire me, like I don't want you to hire me because I'm a female. I don't want you to hire me because like I look like this or whatever it is. Like I want you to hire me because like I have the knowledge, I have the experience, I have like what it takes to like be on the field or on the court or whatever it is, you know? But to like your question too, is just, I think that there has been like such a push of like, if you're a female, we'll hire you. If you're a female, like, you know, like we'll give you these games and all this stuff. And, it's probably a little bit opposite of what I feel like a lot of females are not going to like me for this, but I just don't think it should come down to like your gender or your race or your look. Like obviously you gotta be in shape for what I do, but like it shouldn't come down to like those things that like determine where you get put. Like I think it should be truth, like,
honestly,
it's like, do you deserve, it's like, do you deserve it? Did you work for it? You know, like everyone should have to like work for whatever it is, you know, like I'm not saying women can't do it, because clearly like I am doing it, but it's just like, I don't think that women should be in this spot over a man just because they're a female or because they look like this. Like if the man deserves to be there more than me, put him there. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't believe in that, but yeah.
Preach it. Come on. Preach
but that's
it,
the
Haley.
thing, because society be pushing like we need to have like some all more, like equal everybody like in there, even if they're not qualified. Like we just need to have all spectrums of everything in there so everyone can be happy. And that's not necessarily the best thing. They're not qualified. They're not qualified.
Diversity does not mean effectiveness all the time. It's just, it is what it is.
And true. And I also want to clarify, when I take the opportunity, because there's going to be somebody out there, I meant prosecute them. Take the opportunity to prosecute to the fullest extent. Put them on blast. Put it on the headline. Weirdo. Creep.
No, yeah. That's like true. I mean, it is true though, because they really do want, I swear it's just like they want to put people in a position so it's like it can look better to everyone. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they'll and it's not it's not necessarily like a bad thing, but they can so clearly, like you can tell that they try to diversify it as much as they possibly can. So like these people, like they'll put a female on every crew, they'll put a white person on every crew, like a Hispanic, a black person, you know what I'm saying? So like it looks better. Yeah. But it's like,
yeah, because when I see her on the court, I was like, man, these people try to get everybody a chance.
I ain't gonna lie. I be feeling some kind of way when I see like a woman rep. I'm like, man, they trying to get everybody opportunity right now. I be having some bad experiences. My bad. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I be sick.
Like, they give everybody a chance.
She ain't never caught a route. Like, what's going on? Like, but you changed my perception.